kind of kick it off here and call the meeting to order. Can everyone please take a look at the June minutes that were provided electronically, and they're also presented paper format for those 710 Washington Road. I just need a motion and a second or any changes. Motion.
I'll make that motion, Eric.
Well, we have a motion. Okay, great. So all right, thanks guys. Thanks for taking the time to review that. So just moving on here to the committee updates. The Mobility Committee, as I've referenced at every previous meeting, we do have a South Hills Mobility Task Force. That full group has not met recently, but what has been happening sort of offline from those meetings is some discussions with Dormont. So both of our communities, most specifically ourselves, are really starting to get into the thick of the 2024 budget cycle. So we're in this the position now where staff heads are directors and department chiefs and all this stuff are pulling together their board budgets. So I'm part of that. So I have narrative in the 2024 budget for funding an active transportation plan, which will be an offshoot of the Economic Development Council, the South Hills Mobility Task Force, but also I can pretty confidently say the comprehensive plan. So, you know, all of those stars have aligned. So I'll be requesting funds for an active transportation plan for next year. But with that said, as part of the task force meetings, we've been discussing ways that we can have joint planning opportunities with other communities. And Dormont is really well positioned right now to potentially be a partner with us on an active transportation plan. So I met with their borough manager last week. We had a really great discussion. He feels there's capacity on their end to work with us on this. And we're going to be having a subsequent meeting, a follow-up meeting with Mount Lebanon's municipal manager, planner, myself and Dormont to sort of hash out what a scope might look like so that I'm putting in the best possible numbers for the commission and the manager to consider for next year. So that is moving forward. So any questions about that?
Hey, Eric, on the scope, did we get something from the consultants currently on the comp plan kind of as a sample scope, or do you need any help on the scope, I guess is my question. Yeah,
astute question. And yes, we do. We have a, yes. So Jenny, who is the lead on the comp plan for Pashik, provided us a strong number, a number I feel good about. But that's really kind of just looking at Mount Lebanon. And what I like about using her number for is, you know, she's entrenched in the comp plan and kind of understands a lot of the issues that are bubbling from the residents through that lens. So that gives me some confidence that it's a well thought out number. However, I you know, if Dormont is in the mix, you know, it's not necessarily going to change how Mount Lebanon pursues its active transportation plan, but you know, how do we finesse that planning together so that it's meaningful and impactful for both communities. So I think that's part of the discussion, you know, oversimplifying it a bit maybe, but you know, in my mind, I look at it as key intersects, key arterial intersects, pedestrian intersects between the borders, obviously the light rail, and obviously West Liberty and Washington Road, State Route 19. Seth may have a little bit more information, but this is a bit of an aside, but important. PennDOT is looking to repave West Liberty. And while it doesn't touch the 6 square miles of Mount Lebanon, it will have impacts to Mount Lebanon, and eventually PennDOT is going to be coming through our community as well. So think we want to set a precedent and have a voice in the current planning for West Liberty. Borough's manager, Ben, has reached out to Representative Miller's office. Representative Miller is pulling together a meeting with PennDOT, Dormont, Pittsburgh Regional Transit, the city, and Mount Lebanon is going to be invited to that session. I don't think a date, I don't think it's been calendared yet, but that's going to be upcoming. So, you know, currently Seth probably has a lot more detail because he's been attending these meetings. But again, so if I'm oversimplifying, Seth, let me know. But essentially, they just want to repave. It's a repaving project, and that's all they're looking at to do. And I think Dormont is hoping for something greater than that and more impactful for traffic volume, traffic speeds, pedestrian crossings, things like that. Is that sort of encapsulated?
Yeah, and the thing is, you know, and this is in my day job with PRT, we've been working to collaborate more with PennDOT, and there's been a lot of change there. So I think they're more open to this conversation. These projects get scoped years and years ahead of time, and then they just move through their process and come forward with it. But we're hoping to slow that down if it truly is a funding thing. I think that's why it's good to have Representative Miller in that conversation, because there is a lot of funding around these types of projects where if you give the municipalities and collaborators time, we can seek more funding other than the straightforward repaving, the simplification of pavement markings. But this segment, the current segment that PennDOT is working through, goes from outside the Liberty Tunnels, I believe it's Dawn Avenue, to McFarland Road. So it comes right to the edge of Mount Lebanon. And then the subsequent segment, which this is how they work, would be from McFarland Road all the way to Cochrane Road or something of the like. So what they do on West Liberty in that section, they would like to do continued through Mount Lebanon. So if we can affect change at this juncture, that makes things much easier for potential change in Mount Lebanon as well. So good to hear that's moving forward. Last I heard from PennDOT, it sort of lives with their executive staff after recent conversations. So, but we're definitely keeping the pulse on that conversation.
Right, and Dormont again is, you know, being one of the host communities of this particular project is all over it. So both staff and their council are pretty involved. So and the city, from what I understand, the city is also, and everybody seems to be on the same page with the exception of one entity in charge of transportation
and the budget associated with it.
Yeah, right. So, but you know, anybody that knows PennDOT, this is just kind of what it is. But it is nice to see that, as Seth's point, that there does seem to be some change there, where there's, you know, they don't just shut the door on you; they slowly close it, and you can keep putting your foot in there. You know, but you know, we have a complete streets policy, as we all know. So I think that's great. We have that in the pocket too. So, and then as we begin our active transportation planning, so we hope next year. That'll even further strengthen our hand once PennDOT starts rapping on our door to do a project along Washington Road, which, just personally speaking, I hope is not for quite some time. As Uptown needs a break. So I mean that's kind of what I have for now. At the next meeting. Probably want to pull together another task force meeting, but we'll have an update on how the conversations went with Dormont. I'll have a better handle on numbers related to the budget because that's coming due to the finance department. So we'll have a pretty substantive and chunky conversation about this at the end of August, which is hard to believe that, yeah, and we'll talk about it next.
Related to mobility, may I throw in a zinger for you?
Sure. I'll put my coffee down.
Yeah. So parking board meeting last night, we talked about the South Garage, which is the South Garage.
South Garage, yes.
Yeah, and they raised, and I think they're all valid points, and they're all points that I think people who've been around here long enough are very aware of. Is that South Garage was built in '65. It is near the end of useful life. The cathodic system, I'm not exactly sure what it does, but it's worn out. And so the proposals that the consultant basically has put forward, and I don't have it in front of me, so I'm shorthanding this here, but basically demolish it for $1.5 million, replace all the slabs for about 11 million in 2 years worth of work, give or take. There was maybe a couple others, but suffice it to say that it's nearing the end of its. Oh, and then there's a couple, proposals to extend the useful life, but they're not really long and they're kind of expensive, if I recall correctly.
I think they're 100,000 or more a year.
Yeah, just to kind of keep it limping along. So I suspect that the discussion is going to be it's time to replace the south garage, which I think we're all excited about in many respects. There's lots of opportunities with the south garage, to do some different things. The conversation was that on average, we have about 150 parkers for 300 spots. Which I think we've all been disappointed over the years. We'd like to get more people parking there and aware. But there's also the argument that, well, we've got some interesting space here to work with. So the concern is now that it's time to start preparing for this big project, whatever it looks like. And we need to start communicating with, businesses and residents in the impacted area about this coming as well. And I know I can see Eric. Eric is
smiling. That and the water company coming through. Yeah, it's gonna.
So that's it's like yes, fiber net. Yes, PennDOT is repaving and yes, the south garage is nearing end of useful life.
And PA Water is coming through to do work.
Yes. So that's just another item on the radar that, again, I think on the other end of the south garage project, it's going to be a fantastic thing. But on this end, staring at it, it's a big mountain to climb.
Yeah, it is for sure. And there's going to have to be exhaustive planning and communication and on that for obvious reasons. I mean, this isn't imminent, it's not happening next year. So let's put that in perspective, just if anybody's watching this from home, we're not tearing that down January 1 of next year or something, but it does appear that that boat is chartered for that course as it needs to be. It's something else related to that, and I'm not an engineer, but I think it's something, and I brought it up before, but especially these older garages were not designed to handle electric vehicles, both in charging them, but also supporting the sheer weight of something like that. So there's a number of factors in it. So I mean, long term, you really can have a state-of-the-art parking facility that is right-sized to the community and potentially a mixed-use project. I mean, that's where it could be exciting. I mean, you could really think about striking a new course for what a parking structure is. Similar to the north garage, which integrates some commercial structures and things like that. I mean, this could do the same, and also serve 21st century functions with electric vehicles, and maybe I could even get my car in when I have the tooling rack on. So that would be a benefit too. If you've ever been in the south garage, it is very very low hang, so don't have your tooling rack or your bike your dog. So, thank you. Any other news?
I guess, Andrew, where will it's going to stay? Is it sort of in the purview of the traffic and parking, or the future mobility, or is it going to be sort of cross-divisional? Because I mean, like Eric touched on, it's potentially multi-use future.
This one is cross-cutting everybody.
It does dovetail, other regional factors at play, but Mount Lebanon's population began to shrink after the south garage was built.
Right. Yeah, so. This one, everybody recognizes the importance of this project. I think there's some dread that it has to happen, but everybody recognizes, and it is there's no siloing this one.
What parcels the outside of South, so the municipality owns the next surface lot there where the farmer's market is, but not in between? Or does the municipality own the parcels sort of in between?
The south lot where the Uptown market is primarily focused, yes. And then it's privately held properties till you reach 710, you know, or until you reach the bridge into the garage, and then 710 Washington Road. Obviously, then behind 710, the municipal building, there's a small surface lot that we have site control of, and then obviously the parking structure, you know, that goes without saying. So that the current footprint is the south garage and the lot behind us. That's the current lot. But we're going to be, you know, taking a hard look at, you know, at the entirety of the site to see what ought to happen.
And on the utility front, I'll just commiserate with you, Eric. They are hard to control. You'd love them to be coordinated, but they, as PRT with their BRT project has faced, a lot of the issues with the BRT sections are utility focused. So it is frustrating, but
yeah,
you can do about it.
Yeah, you really can. It's akin to the, you know, the way the railroads were and still are, right? I mean, they are sovereign giants, you know, living on Mount Olympus that seem to be able to do whatever they need to, and that's fine. I mean, they need access to their assets, but yeah. So we'll know, you know, there'll be more on the water line work, and I'll talk about Duquesne Light a little further down the agenda. Anything else related to mobility? Okay. Economic vitality. The big thing to report there at this point is I'm working with that committee, setting up one-on-one meetings with property owners. So this again is a committee of the Mount Lebanon Partnership that overlaps with the Economic Development Council. So there are members that sit on both. So we'll be having those meetings. And it's really high level, kind of get to know you meetings, hearing out what different property owners would like to see out of our designated Main Street organization, what they'd like to see out of the municipality, ways to assist them with their properties. I mean, I'm looking at it, you know, from the angle of rehabilitation of some of the older buildings, facade work, things of that nature. But it also will, I'm sure, touch on some policy issues. Partnership has attempted to advance different policy initiatives that I'm sure will be a topic for some of these meetings. And so it's just a chance to have a sit down, open dialogue and build those networks. I have a pretty great relationship, a good relationship with many, if not many of the property owners. And the partnership and that committee would like to also have some relationships so that, you know, we're working as in consensus on advancing the district. So those meetings are happening. They are still planning on having a networking event come fall. So kicking that back off. So those, we used to do quarterly networking meetings. They were called meetups. And they were just opportunities where property and business owners were invited to events, socializing events, if you will, networking events throughout the municipality, where they would meet with elected officials, staff from Mount Lebanon, and then members of the Mount Lebanon Partnership. And we would, you know, we usually had we'll have a quick update on some various things, and then just let people kind of get to know one another. So these were really popular, and then that little thing happened in 2020 and side railed all that. Then with the project that's been going on, it's been difficult to imagine pulling together something like that, but we're now at a point where it's time to get back to work on that. We have a lot of new businesses that probably feel a little disconnected because, you know, they've joined our community at a time when things weren't running on all cylinders, and so the timing is right. And we're also in a new world now, so, you know, related to office use and things. So the timing couldn't be better. So when that's calendared, I'll be sure to let everybody know, because I would love to see EDC members in attendance at that. So probably looking at October, to be realistic, before we get into the high holiday season, Thanksgiving and on. We'll try to get something calendared October, early November is my guess. Related to grants, we are winding down the design guideline contract. So the consultant on that has submitted their draft design guidelines. The design committee and myself have reviewed those. They look excellent. There's tweaks to that they're performing. There will be a second public meeting on design guidelines on Monday, August 7th at 8 a.m. here in this building. So Landmarks SGA will be back and presenting the draft guidelines, getting feedback from property and business owners and anyone that attends the meeting. And they will incorporate that into the design guidelines, and then we're going to close this project out.
Can you make sure that the Historic Preservation Board is aware of that meeting or when that meeting is?
Absolutely.
They had some items they raised at their last meeting.
Okay, yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Right, so Eric, I'm sorry, tell me that date again.
Yeah, August 7th, it's a Monday, August 7th, 8 a.m. It's scheduled to 10 a.m. I highly doubt it'll go that long, but so 8 a.m. on Monday, August 7th, here at 710 Washington Road. If the front of the municipal building is completed, it'll be in the commission chambers. I don't think that will be happening, so we'll be meeting in this room, which is conference room C. So I'll have the room set up for them. We had a very robust, Kate was there at the meeting. I thought we had a really nice turnout and a nice mix. Many property owners, many business owners. We had fair representation from various boards and authorities. So it was a really nice meeting. And just to remind everybody, there's no teeth to this. This is 100% a sort of a North Star document for the design committee when evaluating folks that want to pursue a facade grant. And so it's really taking best practices and then morphing those into our particular architectural mix and style and feel, so it has all of that. There's a toolkit in there that, lack of a better term, like a glossary, various architectural terms. So it's an educational piece for a property or business owner, but also a North Star document and guiding decision-making when looking at facade grant applications when they come in. So there's no, it's not prohibiting anybody from doing anything. But if you want dollars, these are the things you need to do. The other component of it is there will be recommendations based on their analysis of our zoning in the central business district, which is not great. So there are some recommendations as well as sort of an appendix for consideration at the municipal level for the planner and municipal manager and commission to chew on and act on or do as they see fit. So that is wrapping up. The contract ends September 30th. So all the primary work will be done by then, and that will close that grant out. The second grant that we currently have in-house, again, we'll begin that planning either late this year, very early next year. That sunsets June 30th of next year. And that's really looking at, again, Clearview Common, Parsway, and those sorts of areas for placemaking and public art type initiatives. Finally, I'm making application for what's called an implementation grant to DCD. That's due October 31st. I've been asked to submit an application for public art on behalf of the partnership. what they are currently considering is creating a corridor of light along Washington Road. So essentially they're called Gobi devices. They're projecting units that would go on targeted light poles, and they broadcast basically anything you want onto the sidewalk. So it's a public art, a non-invasive public art project, which I think could really be fantastic, especially in the evening as you come up here. So you just would have to imagine various things broadcasted via laser or LED type lighting, concentrated light onto the sidewalks. So the sidewalks become a blank canvas, and these units paint the picture. And what's cool about them is you can have custom designed images broadcast. So you can work with local artists to design various images that are sent down. But you could also just have snowflakes during the holidays. So it serves multiple functions. I don't know that anybody else in Pittsburgh is really doing anything at this level on a district-wide level.
No.
So, again, we're always trying to do something innovative, and this is squarely that. So I'm working through the application right now. We're still doing the budget numbers are a little squishy, so I'm trying to figure that one out. But that will be submitted. We won't know for award, and I don't know the amount that I'm applying for. Of course, everybody's like, well, apply for all of it. Well, I may not need all of it. So you can apply for up to $50,000, and there's a $50,000 match. The partnership has money that they've been squirreling away for years from the artist market for public art. So they have their own tranche of funds earmarked, dedicated to public art, and then the municipality has a reservoir of dollars related to public art. So we have the match money in hand. Announcements will be in December of this year, and we would not, if awarded, we would not enter into contract till next year. And then generally the contracts run anywhere from 1 to 3 years. So I'm not sure, this is an implementation grant. It's sort of somewhat unusual. So I'm not exactly sure what the contract terms are, but if it's a year, we're positioned to move quickly should we need to. And just one more point, we are going to be testing one of these models. The partnership has acquired a test unit. So that apparently is here somewhere in Mount Lebanon at someone's house. And I have to coordinate with Public Works and our electrician to get it installed. So we need to figure out where we want to do that and then have it installed. And then we'll be testing it out, seeing how it works, how it looks. Does it do the things we think it is going to do and what we've seen it do in other places? And if so, that's what we'll roll with. And then there are a couple other public art projects that are in the hopper, but unrelated to this grant. One is a sort of an artistic vinyl overlay treatment on the north garage and the glazing on the north garage. So if you're familiar with it, there's windows that rise up that they would be looking to put a transparent artistic application to that. And we've reviewed that with public safety and have marching orders on how to do that in a manner that the police feel comfortable. We don't want people in a place where they feel uncomfortable. So again, this will be transparent. So that's also in the planning stages.
So this is a partnership project. Municipality is
right. This is all partnership. That's all partnership. Correct. Yeah. The lighting, obviously, there will be some coordination with the municipality. But at the last meeting, Commissioner, there was discussion about this, and it was recommended. And I think it's a good idea to look at hiring someone like Sargent Electric or somebody like that for the install, somebody that's familiar with how to do these types of things. And then there would be a memorandum, MOU with the municipality in terms of maintenance, long-term maintenance and all of that, so that these don't become sort of a legacy cost for the municipality to encumber. So there'll be more to come with that, but yeah, behind the scenes on the admin side, there will be some MOUs and contracts and understandings, binding understandings about how these units are maintained and length of duration and things of that nature.
Do we have an estimate from the company as to the life cycle of these units?
That's one of the things I need to, through the grant process, I'm going to get a better understanding of. Most of the research on this has been done by the design committee. So, you know, they've kind of run with it, but now that I'm writing the grant, I want to and need to have an understanding of that sort of life cycle. The grant won't pay for that. The grant will be for acquisition. But, you know, so there will be some legacy costs. And then there's a cost if you, again, want to design something and have an artist come in. So there's a lot to it. So right now I just need to figure out roughly how many units they're looking to get, you know, that type of thing. So, which I'm still not quite certain of, but we'll get there by August 31st.
Okay.
One way or the other.
Eric, I like the idea of the snowflakes because as we're going, that might be the only way we get snowflakes on Washington Road.
Very true. Very true.
We can remember the snowflakes.
Yeah, we'll recreate them with laser. So there we are. That's that. Any other questions related to that activity, at least from the committee? So there again, just summarizing, one-on-one property owner meetings between the partnership and myself, networking event soon to be on the horizon, and these grants, which are one of which will be sunsetting very quickly, and the other will begin the planning soon.
You touched on a zoning appendix or analysis as part of that. I assume with the comp plan, there's kind of going to be a similar one. Is the municipality going to look holistically at zoning, or is it going to be kind of one-off district, or, you know, I don't. What do you anticipate coming out of the comp plan, or kind of the next steps? Or are we even at that phase?
I'll just speak selfishly. I'm at the phase that I'm solely interested in the commercial district. So the design guidelines and those recommendations, Jenny from Patrick, who's deeply involved in, well, she is the lead for the comp plan. She was at the design guideline meeting, so she's familiar with that. You know, how the comp plan affects the other zoning, you know, residential and things of that nature. I'm not sure. I'm selfishly interested in seeing the central business district zoning be updated to the 21st century best practice, not, you know, Gerald Ford era best practice.
Yeah, Seth, I'll just say that I have had semi-regular conversations with the planner about once the comp plan is done, it is time to start looking at our zoning in depth. I think, yeah, there has been a general nod that yes, that is appropriate, but no discussion on timing or what that's going to look like. But I agree, it needs to be fully reviewed, an in-depth exercise. But there's only so many staff, and we've got lots of plans.
it's implementation's the hard part, you know, and I don't know what. I think Dormont had a pretty large number on their form-based code rework. It is successful. I think it is a very good one, but you know, numbers are numbers, so something to think about. Or talk, you know, when you get to talk, when the planner talks with Ben, or vice versa, or what happens. He's a great resource in that front.
Oh yeah, as you know, they know each other.
Yep.
Great. Well, speaking of implementation being the hard part, let's talk about Vibrant Uptown. It's a lot easier to talk about it. If you haven't been up here recently, please do. Most of the encumbrances to navigating the district are removed. It's really a completely different street in the last month since the last time we spoke. So all the planters are irrigated. The irrigation system is turned on. Most of the planters are planted. So that is good news. Most, if not all most 98% of the flat work is complete. 99.4% of the pavers are installed. There's still some pavers that need installed for the municipal building. Duquesne Light, speaking of utilities, we've been in a holding pattern with work in front of the municipal building because we've been waiting for Duquesne Light to come in to apparently do some very intensive work that required lots of parts. Well, they came in, and I think their parts included a pair of scissors and electrical tape. They came in, they snipped a couple wires, and we're out of here in 2 hours. So the good news is they were in, they were out. There was a temporary power outage for a couple businesses on Monday, or Tuesday, I'm sorry, on Tuesday. But that work is done, and the contractors already started banging out the front of the municipal building. So that's really the last really massive or major piece of construction yet to be done, and that's underway. Back to the planners, they're also installing, a lot of people either forgotten over time for various reasons, what have you, but there's also accent lighting in all the planters. So there's an LED, if you look at the planters, you'll see a small groove on the inside of the salt guard from the street. There's a band of LED lights that runs through there. So at night, there'll be an ambient glow into the planters and onto the sidewalk. So that just adds a little extra lighting in the evening and then just some aesthetic appeal. So that's going in now. They were waiting on clips. The clips are in. What you'll also be seeing, it started yesterday, is the light poles are not done. They have a base. So there's a little hockey puck looking thing that's on them now. That's not the base. So if you go up by rollers, you'll see what the actual base looks like. So those are being installed now. So that will finish out the light poles. So come our big unveiling next Saturday, a lot of that punch list stuff, the punch list items should be done. The bases ought to be installed. The LED ambient lighting should be installed and functional. The irrigation is functional. The planters are planted. Pretty soon, this will just be a memory. And I'm looking forward to that. But we're, for all intents, the street is pretty much back to normal. So I don't know if there's any questions about that, but they should be completely out of here by mid-August, I'm thinking.
I don't want to dig into it too far, but I saw there were some punch list item updates that they're kind of adjusting some of the planter boxes. Was there a specific issue or just kind of things needed to be streamlined? I'm just wondering, there's one in front of Rollers. I think it's a shady that the water seems to pool a little bit there, and I didn't know if there was a way to retrofit drainage into the planter, because I don't think any of them do drain into the planters.
No, they don't.
Way down in the weeds.
Yeah, it's a very shallow soil, so the amount of salt that would run in would just kill everything.
Yep.
So they do have a punch list item to do some improvement. I mean, there were some errors to some of the planters by previous previous crews. They're going back in and fixing that. So that's happening now. I mean, I know yesterday they jackhammered one of the planters up that way and are rebuilding it. I know what you're talking about in front of Rollers. There is some ponding there. I don't have a good answer on what I know that's been in discussion. I would assume that there's a correction plan for that. There was another planter up on the south end that was removed because there was a design issue with that. So that's been corrected. Yeah, there's still work to be done, I guess.
It looks good. And you said the irrigation's on, because I know that this heat is killer on those new trees.
Yeah, 100%. No, the east side had been on, which is the side with Empire Music and the coffee shops. That's been on for about a week. And then the west side, which is the municipal building side, was turned on yesterday.
Cool.
There's also a warranty in any of the plants. I mean, there's clearly going to be some that don't take that. If you've ever done any landscaping in your yard, that's just the nature of live plants. Some make it, some don't.
Yep.
So we anything that does not flourish will be replaced. That's in the contract, and there's a warranty. I believe a 2-year warranty on all the plantings. There's also a planting map and chart that is provided to the municipality for ongoing maintenance that's provided by the landscape architect. So what's planted where and what needs done when kind of thing, like, an idiot's guide to gardening, for municipal vegetation. So there's that aspect. And then ongoing maintenance. So what we used to do, not to get into the weeds, but I couldn't help using that pun. But the maintenance of the planters used to be done by volunteers, which was really not a sustainable way to handle something like that at all. So the ongoing maintenance now is baked into the public works planter island contracts. I talked to the public works director. So there will be a dedicated contract moving forward to weeding and ensuring that the plants are thriving. So the district looks good.
Waste, bike racks, those items.
Yeah, those seem superfluous to me, so I made an executive decision. And said,
Good choice.
That's a good, the commissioner raises a good question. Yes, there are. So they haven't shipped yet, so this does get into that whole shipping thing. But anybody that's ever ordered things like this knows there's a ridiculously long lead time for delivery. But we are getting new committed trash cans and committed recycling plant cans. They're not those little cylinder things that we had before. These are significant and attractive units. They're shipping September 1. And then along with that shipment comes bike racks and additional benches. So there are some benches that are planned in front of the municipal building by Citizens Bank. And then we have the ability to order more should we need to or want to. But for this current first phase, this is kind of what we're doing. So that there'll be some benches. There's obviously already benches and all the planters. They were integral to those. And I'm seeing people use them every day. So, we actually expanded the seating opportunities up here by quite a bit, but there will be some more traditional benches. But yes, all that. My hope is that by the time we have our December 9th Winterfest, all of those things will be. It'll be complete. The bow will be on the package. I mean, to me, that's sort of the final, tie off. Here we are. So that'll be coming by the fall.
I had one more.
Yeah, please.
It was something that I've been thinking about, and I believe it came up in the economic vitality discussion, though maybe I'm misremembering. Is sidewalk maintenance, right? How do we're done, right? The municipality is now done, right? We've put all this work in, right? Everybody's gone through the hell. Now, how do we convince business owners to actually sweep their sidewalk of snow, of trash, power wash, right? On some frequency. And that's not the municipality's job. I know that, but somehow we have to convince property owners or business owners to do something, whether that's paying for it or doing it themselves. And how do we get some momentum there?
Yeah, there are a few that I'll just use snow maintenance. I mean, for the most part, that I've found the property owners to be very responsive to that. I mean, one, they have a liability, so that really gets them out there to do that. Litter is, obviously as old as a problem as we've been walking on 2 legs. I mean, there'll always be litter. Some of the merchants do sweep and sort of do what I call I'm showing my age, but Mr. Hooperism, like he's out there. For those of us that remember Mr. Hooper from Sesame Street, if you remember, he was always sweeping and talking to Big Bird out there. So I mean that sort of ethos isn't quite as robust as it may have been in a different era, but some do, and I think maybe getting to some of the commissioner's points, some of the sidewalks, there's sidewalks, they're a hardscape in an urban context, so they get various things on them, gum, paint, other things that I won't mention, but all kinds of things end up on sidewalks. So, that has always been a pass through to the property owner for maintenance and doing that type of thing. We don't have a business improvement district or neighborhood improvement district to pay for service above and beyond in terms of maintenance. We don't have street sweepers or pressure washers or gum busting machines or any of that kind of thing. So it's a dialogue, a conversation to have. One would hope that people would maintain their front door just because it's good advertising, but
you kind of touched on it, Eric. I think there's opportunity in the future and down the road as Washington Road maybe changes, South Garage. There's opportunities all over the place. I think for Mount Lebanon, and your Mr. Hooper reference was like, I think PDP's done a great job. And when did the Golden Triangle ambassadors come on board? Like that's a heavy scale business district, the Golden Triangle, but there could be an interesting opportunity to really extend that. Maybe the crossing guards get to work all day. They just change their vests to Mount Lebanon street team and they go Mr. Hooper up and down the business district. But I think it is a good thing, but I don't know the business districts in that place right now, but something to think about down the road. How do you kind of have that Mr. Hooper mentality? Because I think it is a great thing.
Yeah, in defense, I mean, I used to manage East Carson Street. So, I mean, I have a different threshold on this stuff. So, I mean, comparatively, to downtown or East Carson Street or something like that, I mean, we don't have the same volumes. We also don't have the same uses. I mean, the uses of Uptown are a lot, I'm using the word cleaner, but, they're just not, we're not an entertainment district with, saddle, with shoulder to shoulder bars and nightclubs. And we don't have, the issues that Kate's very familiar with downtown. But yeah, I mean, there's some litter that blows in, and there are a couple of storefronts that I'm not going to name that probably, one would hope would take more responsibility for the appearance. But I think overall, comparatively speaking to some of our neighbors, I mean, I think we present ourselves in a good way, but it can always be improved.
I'd also say, I mean, when you're doing the one-on-one meetings with these property owners and business owners, it's a good opportunity to say, now that your sidewalk is complete, we're going to really, focus on keeping them clean, keeping them active. There's definitely a few businesses that could already use a pressure wash.
Sure.
And particularly if you're a food-based business, you're going to need to pressure wash more often, just depending on the type of foot traffic you're looking at, as well as any potential trash coming in and out. While it shouldn't typically be coming in and out of the front door, it does. And so I think first step would be kind of reminding folks, making them aware, and then there's always the potential to look into how the partnership might be able to assist in any of that process.
Yeah, I think because even I don't think we're not East Carson Street or downtown. So I think even a quarterly power washing or something like that, or even it's seasonal, would really do the trick. I'm not going to name names, but there are a couple businesses just based on their nature that just lead to more issues. And that is a good point. I think a lot of it is timing. Personally, we've asked a lot of these businesses, especially Uptown. So the last thing I wanted to do is be like, oh, by the way, you're messy. So
clean.
Yeah, so I'm trying to be mindful of just sort of timing and also that type of thing. But yeah, once it's complete, we've made this significant investment. We want to keep it maintained. It's like a new car, right? You buy a new car, you got to vacuum out the interior every now and then, throw on some wax, whatever, polish the chrome, same with the streetscape. It's just how to go about how to do that. And that is totally the role of a Main Street organization, at least for the Uptown district. And Beverly Road is so small, and they have their own association that they could do that. Jennifer, I'm going to elevate you to a panelist. I see your hand raised. So you'll have to accept my promotion.
I think I got it. So thank you. Sorry, I was a couple minutes late here, but that's actually what I wanted to mention too. Because at one point when I was down with the Beverly Road Association, we had a guy that came in. He does pressure washing, and he gave like a bulk quote to do like all of the businesses that were interested, and he was giving them like a really good deal. So if you want that guy's information just to have it, in case anyone wants to pull together and do something like that, I can send it to you.
No, please do. I mean, that's a yes. Yeah, because we had a Beverly Road. Jennifer was very involved in the Beverly Road Merchant Association for a number of years, so very versed in it. And that's a lot of this where that's coming from. Jen, the commissioner and I had a meeting. One obviously the Uptown project, but we attended a meeting with the Beverly Road Merchants Association, and some of these issues came up as well. So we're just trying to be thorough and thoughtful and follow through with some of those concerns. But yeah, I think if you get, and that's what we did on the south side too. We worked with a certain number of property and business owners and they paid for services above and beyond what the city would do, and certainly what, as a nonprofit, we were able to do. We did get some grants. This is different. I mean, the city's different, but we did get a grant through the foundation community to buy like what's called a litter hawk, which did not work, by the way. It's basically, it looks like a lawnmower with sweepers on it. It picked up absolutely nothing. But the guy who wrote it enjoyed himself tremendously riding it up and down, but it didn't do anything. But we paid for power washing here and there. But yeah, send me that, please. Commercial district update. Lot of activity. Some of the stuff I probably not able, unfortunately, to talk about, but I think we're in pretty good shape with. We have a couple of businesses that have closed or in the process of. There's a retirement sale going on at a card shop. The lady who owns that is retiring after many years. So we wish her the best. Sandy, you're invited. So she's retiring. So her last day on the street will be August 31st, but her space is already spoken for. So that Vinyl Remains is expanding into that space. So that's phenomenal. He's been doing great business up here, selling records. It's a record shop. And who would have thought in 2023, 2024, that vinyl records would be expanding, but they are. So all good things come back. And
expanding to cassette tapes.
He does have cassette tapes, yeah. So yeah, that one I don't get. But anybody that ever anyway.
In 20 years, he's going to be expanding to CDs.
Yeah, CD cylinder wax rolls in 78.
Or yeah, I was saying 8-tracks must be in there. So
yeah, 8-tracks. It's all coming back. But yeah, no, he has. He also so he's going to be selling obviously more wax, but cassettes. But he also sells vintage stereo equipment. So he and
circa 1970.
Yeah. So I mean, I actually gave him a tuner from 1976 that he's fixing up, and I just gave it to him. I don't need it, but anyway, yeah. So like vintage stuff like that, some furniture. So that actually should be interesting. He kind of curates stuff for a certain era. I'd say probably 60s to mid 80s is his sweet spot in terms of retail. And he's also going to be carrying, like right now, a lot of what he carries is curated vinyl. So jazz, he goes to estate sales, blah, blah, blah. But if you want to go in there and get the newest record by, pick a band, He doesn't carry a lot of new material, but he wants to do that. So, you know,
I think I got Olivia Rodrigo's album from him, actually.
oh, so there you go.
Some new and some old stuff.
He does a nice job.
He does. He's phenomenal. So I'm real excited about that. I'm a huge fan of music, and so that's very excited about that. Empire Music is expanding again. They're taking what had been office space and doing more retail. PNC Bank, we're pretty close to a lease being signed there. If it's not already signed, that's retail. I can't get into specifics on that. And then there's another spot that closed that is already spoken for. So we're in good shape. Looking forward to these new business expansions and additions to the district. On Castle Shannon, the little record shop over there keeps chugging along. They should be getting close to their final inspections, getting an occupancy permit and opening up. So that's Needle and Bean. That's going to be a coffee shop that also sells vinyl right across the street from Caliente's. Pretty stoked about that. And then I'm just trying to think. There's going to be some activity on Beverly Road, but I don't have a lot of detail yet, so I'm not just going to make things up. So there's West Banco is closing their branch, so I'm trying to figure out what goes in there. So
I've got wishes, but
don't we all?
Yeah. Well, maybe we can talk offline.
Yeah, right on. No, I'm all ears, man.
I don't know.
Yeah, but and then just on a side note, the new Uzbekistan restaurant that opened up, it's an Eastern European restaurant, is doing very well.
It's phenomenal.
I hear it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
So I know the last First Friday it was super busy, and I went in and introduced myself to the owners. They're just delightful people, and it's very heavy on the meat, and anybody knows me knows that I don't do that. But all my carnivore friends love it. So I've heard nothing but great things. So sounds like a wonderful addition to the street. It's bringing folks up here. It's really kind of a destination business and kind of unique in what they do. And they do it very well. So
where are they?
They're right by the North Garage. So they're where the kebab place had been, where Burgers and Dogs was many years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, they're phenomenal. I don't know if you need reservations yet, but it may be getting close to that. So speaking of related type things, the final First Friday is next Friday. So that'll be Wisdom Reggae Band. But then next Saturday, the 5th, I hope everyone's around. We're doing the Uptown Unveiled event. This is sort of a we're closing down Washington Road from the south side of Cedar to Lebanon. All the garages will be open. Surface lots, with the exception of the south lot, will be open. All the on-street parking will be available on Washington Road, north of Cedar, and all the other parking is available. So parking will not be an issue. We have a whole slate. We have 6 different bands performing at 2 different stages. We have games. Various nonprofits are coming up, everything from Animal Friends to our esteemed library. Please come up. It's just an opportunity to enjoy the new streetscape, see it from the middle of the road, walking safely. And it's a slow burn event is the way I'm kind of describing it. So it's really kind of come up anytime between noon and 6 p.m. Next Saturday, and just walk around, enjoy the street. East End is going to have a tap truck. They'll have their pub open, but they'll also be selling beer on the street. The saloon is licensed now to sell beer to go for the event. Totopo will be participating. All the restaurants will be open and participating. It should be, God willing, and the creeks don't rise, and we don't have a code red Canadian Fire Action Day or tsunami or flood or whatever. It should be a really nice event. So we've been organizing that, and please tell your friends. It's on the website, so there's details on there about all the bands and things of that nature. And actually, Vinyl Remains is going to be DJing up by East End Brewing from 4 to 6. So he's pretty stoked. He's going to spin some wax, 45s, good old 70s funk.
Love it. I'm going to be unfortunately out of town, but it sounds like an awesome event. So kudos to Eric and everyone else that's put that together.
Thanks. Yeah, and hopefully we get a good turnout again. It's really for the businesses, you know, kind of a symbolic handing the street back after a number of, after a pandemic and a major capital project. So it's been rough, but we're at the end of it. Anything else for the good of the order? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved or seconded, whatever you need.
No, if you consult Robert's rules of order, a motion to adjourn does not need a second.
Okay.
You need 2 people to start a meeting, but only 1 person to end it.
That's it.
Awesome.
What that tell you about meetings? So thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend.
You too. Take care.
I don't see you. Safe travels wherever your life takes you.
Thank you.
Great day.
Take care.
Thanks.